Kunja Bihari. Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava. Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Jana Bhalabha Giri Bharadhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Bhalabha Giri Bharadhari. Jashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Jashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Jamunatira Bhanachari. Jamunatira Bhanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajagacharya Ashtotara Shatashishimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajagacharya Ashtotara Shatashishimad His Divine Grace Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Grantara Shiman Bhagavatam Ki Nitai Gaura Premanandi. Oh, glories to the assembled devotees. Oh, glories to the assembled devotees. Oh, glories to the assembled devotees. Oh, glories to Shishi Guru and Shigauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, the Summon Bonan, Chapter 62, the meeting of Usha and Aniruddha. Text 25, 26, and 27. So we read text number 25. Tam tatha jadu virena bhujamanan hatavratam hetu bhir lakshayam chakrur apritan durabachadai tan tatha jadu virena bhujamanan hatavratam हेतुभिर्लक्षयं चक्रुर आपरीतं दूरवच्छदये तं तथा जादुवीरेण भुज्यमानं हताव्रतम् हेतुभिर्लक्षयं चक्रुर आपरीतं दूरवच्छदये. Please chant. Tam tata jadubirenam hetubirlakshayam chakrur apritam durabachadaye. Tam tata jadubirena bhujyamanam hatavratam hetubirlakshayam chakrur apritam durabachadaye. Tam tata jadubirena bhujyamanam hatavratam hetubirlakshayam chakrur apritam durabachadaye. Bata avedayam chakru brajamste duhiturvayam vichestitam lasajama kanyajakula dushanam. Tam, here, tatha, thus, jadubirena, by the hero of the jadus, bhujamanam, being enjoyed, hata, broken, bratam, whose virgin vow, hetubihi, by symptoms, lakshayam chakru, they ascertain, apritam, who was extremely happy, durabach chadai, impossible to disguise, bhataha, the female guards, abedayam chakruhu, announce, rajam, O king, te, your, duhituhu, of the daughter, bhajam, we, vichestitam, improper behavior, lakshayamaha, have noted, kanyaya, of an unmarried girl, kula, the family, dushanam, besmirching. Translation and purport by the disciples of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The female guards eventually notice unmistakable symptoms of romantic involvement in Usha, who, having broken her maiden vow, was being enjoyed by the Jadu hero and showing signs of conjugal happiness. The guards went to Banasura and told him, O king, we have detected in your daughter the kind of improper behavior that spoils the reputation of a young girl's family. Purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti has defined the word Bataha as female guards, whereas Jiva Goswami defined it as Enoch, or and others. Enoch and others. That's what you pronounce? Eunuchs and others. Eunuchs. Grammatically, the word can function both ways. The guards fear that if Banasura found out about Usha's activities from some other source, he will severely punish them, and thus they personally informed him that his young daughter was no longer innocent. Text number 27. Anapajibhir asmabir guttayas chagrihe prabho kanyaya dushanam pumbhir dusprekshasya navi mahe. Translation. We have been carefully watching over her, never leaving our post, O Master, so we cannot understand how this maiden, whom no man can even see, has been corrupted within the palace. In purport, the Acharyas explain that the word anapa jibihi can mean either never going away or never diluted. Also, if we take the alternate reading duspreyashayaha instead of dusprekshayaha, see, there's some slight difference. The guard refers to Usha as she whose wicked girlfriend has been sent on a mission. So the type of meanings in Sanskrit that are sometimes um, have much more subtle implications like that. Okay. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Ummilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurube Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Srimate Ramapada Swami Iti Namine Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gaura Bani Pracharine Nirveshesha Shunyavadi Pashatyade Shatarine Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So, how the whole pastime is unfolding is giving us entrance, in one sense, um, through the narration of the psychology that is there of the atmosphere or the the psychology of a demoniac person, a demoniac leader, or a leader that is so uh, absorbed in control and how you say, control and enjoyment, these two features that are part of demoniac nature, which is Ishwara Aham, Aham Bogi. These two things that Krishna defines, that is the mentality, the psychology of the demon, or a demoniac propensity. Ishwara Aham, I am the controller, so everything is under my control, and everything is meant for my enjoyment. So it's very self-centered. So these demoniac propensities is when there's so much absorption on what works for me, that's the reality, and that is the rule. And it is established that things should be in such a way that is to for me to enjoy and have this full control. Ishwaraham Ahambogi. So when this demoniac type of mentality or psychology is in place, then the environment and the atmospheres that is created is a is an atmosphere that um, forces others to sort of, in one sense, navigate this environment. In other words, you have to function within this environment that is controlled by this demoniac type of propensity. Because when you have this type of leadership, we call it autocratic leadership, right? In one sense, that an autocratic leadership is when you have a personality that basically takes hardly any type of advice when making decisions and choice. The choice is made fully and controls are being implemented from the perspective of the individual, the autocratic leader. So this autocratic leader sometimes is called also authoritarian type of leadership. Now, we know that this authoritarian or autocratic leadership is something that is encouraged in Vedic culture. When you have a king, when you have the rulers of society, the Kshatriyas are, the ruling as the authority. They have the structure, very, very strong, clear structure. However, the system is placed in such a way that there is check and balances within the uh, the kings and this Kshatriya type of culture. So when you follow dharma within the Kshatriya, when you follow Kshatriya dharma, then you are fully under the guidance of the Brahminical culture and you follow the principles of dharma and you basically the whole purpose of being in that authoritarian position is that you have to provide protection. The word kshatriya means that you provide protection, you protect others. So these principles of protection then defines the relationship between the leader and the, how you say, the people that are being led. It's a matter, so in fact, the way the people or the subjects, let's say it's subjects, no? The subjects are defined in Sanskrit as praja. So you have the king, the kshatriya, the ruler, and you have the subjects that are called praja. And praja is the same word that is used for children, for your sons and daughters. So the relationship is a paternalistic type of relationship. So you have basically these two classes of authoritarian leaders. One that is solely on control, takes no advice, makes decisions are based on this personality that is full on control, and and is very self-centered. And then, so these are the type of authoritarian, autocratic sort of the term that is used, modern term, is that you are a dictator. This type of negative implications. And then you have this paternalistic type of autocratic leader that have a very well balance of a structure of authority, of control, but of rules and guidelines, along with the caring aspect of being in this paternalistic or this parental type of relationship. What makes a difference between these two is this demoniac mentality. When you have a pious king, then it will naturally follow that type of um, um, relationship that is there, that allows for not only giving discipline or implementing disciplines and rules, but also being able to care for, create a sense of that the subject will follow, because the subject trusts the king to have their welfare, is at the forefront. And the king shows that. So it becomes a relationship of love between the citizens and the king. And we see that in the examples that we are in the Vedas, and especially in the Srimad Bhagavatam, so many narrations of great kings, pious kings such as Maharaj Yudhishthira, Lord Ramachandra, who was the perfect example of that, and the relationship of the citizens with the king. It was a lot of love. I mean, when Lord Ramachandra was banished for 14 years, the whole citizens were following him, were ready to go into the forest, leave their homes, because of the relationship that they have with Lord Ramachandra. That's that type of connection. So that is the Vedic king. Now, when you have someone that is afflicted by this demoniac propensity, that is self-centered, so everything is about, my interests. My interests is for the subjects are supposed to fulfill my interests. And therefore, I establish this very strong control with very defined rules. And if you break them, you will be punished, because you have to fall in line with how this authoritarian ruler was. But the difference is that when these demoniac type of propensities are in place. So, what is the result of that when the subjects are, basically navigating with this type of leadership? This autocratic leadership of someone with this demoniac mentality. Then secrecy. We see Usha is afraid to tell her father that she found, she have given her heart, and she received this boon from the goddess Parvati, and she have given her heart to her husband. And this is her husband. And it's not just that she decided to marry some low class personality, but she married the best, the best, within Krishna's family, the Yadus, the powerful Yadus. So everything was perfect. For a father, oh, this will be is wonderful. What a nice arrangement. What a nice arrangement. And immediately you will say yes, and make all the arrangements like that. The girl, the daughter, was extremely happy. She have already given her heart. The boy is extremely qualified with all the best qualities. What else you want? Why she was afraid to reveal this to her father? Because she kept it in secret. So she didn't want to inform the father. So they accepted the vows of husband and wife in a Gandharva manner without the permission of the father, and they remain secretly uh, fulfilling their conjugal union within the secrecy of her quarters. And then the guards. So these are the female guards or the eunuch guards, regardless, the eunuchs are considered also female, which is quite something. When my wife was, we were she passed a comment that we see now in the stores, in Evanston, some of the more progressive type of cities, that in the stores you have signs support our trans children. Now we have these political confrontations of liberals and conservative, in which they're attacking. There is an attack towards the trans population, especially with the children, and now there is a voice and they're being accepted in society, but still they have a fight to do. There's no complete acceptance. When we go to Vedic times, they will perfectly accept it. They will consider, the third gender, and they have a place in society. They were perfectly accepted, and in Kali Yuga, this type of discriminations of people because of their different propensities have exploded, because again the type of demoniac propensity in one sense, because this type of of rejections of people because of their differences are have nothing to do with piety. It has to do with the false identification of the self. You're not able to see, even materially, is you know is not sound. It shows a great deal of ignorance and uh, uh, small mindedness, like that. So anyway, these female or these unique guards, they also were afraid. So this autocratic leadership, when there's not, properly situated in dharma, but is more situated on the selfish propensities that goes towards this demoniac psychology of I'm in control and everything should be under my control, uh, creates an atmosphere that encourages secrecy, that encourages fear. So you obey by fear. You obey because you have to. Even if it compromises, it makes you feel uncomfortable. You still obey. So it encourages passiveness, that you follow passively, you know, what is the line of order of of this type of leadership. Because think about it, these are very uh, intimate quarters that the princess has, Usha. And she have friends, female friends and assistants. She have guards that are very intimately connected with her, that are there all the time. So these are intimate quarters in which relationships naturally happens, and then these guards can see that this girl is very happy. And the fact is that they can understand that this is a bona fide marriage. But they can also understand the king is going to be furious. He's going to be, and in fact, when we read the Harivansa that expanded on the pastime, Banasura was completely furious and, ready to, he wanted Aniruddha killed in the spot. So he sent an army of demons to kill them. So the guards could understand he's going to be furious. Why he's going to be furious? Well, this mentality of Ishwaraham Ahambogi. Now, for the mentality of an autocrat, in which you see your subjects or the people that are under your care, they're not there for you to serve, but they're there to serve your purposes. It's a switch of mentality. Everything is meant to serve my purposes. When you have the proper kshatriya, the kshatriya is my purpose is to serve them, to protect them. My purpose is to facilitate the flourishment of my praja, of my subjects. The demoniac king sees all these people, all these things are meant to fulfill my purposes. So now, for a king, a qualified princess is a great asset that is used in general to create unions with other powerful kingdoms. So you give the girl in marriage to a powerful king that will marry to either the prince, so you unify, you create unions between dynasties through marriage. You advance, your power, your capacity, your influence, your strength. You also advance, your wealth, because every time you give a girl in charity, then, according to that, there is certain wealth that comes to you. So it's all kinds of things that are of great interest for the purposes that this king have in terms of power and control. Now, he had for sure this girl is my property and for the purpose of fulfilling my interests. Now, when he found that she took the matter on her own hand without his control, he was furious. Oh, it's unaccepted for is when it was going to be unaccept unacceptable for this guy. So the guards were in fear of their life, because although we see the girl being happy, although they may even feel that, oh, how nice, they may understand, yeah, this is all bona fide. It's not that the girl is spoiled. It's not that the girl is unpious. It's not that the girl is immoral. She has done everything right, like that. And on the top of that, it was it was an arrangement that was made, that was blessed by Goddess Parvati. So everything wasn't perfectly all right. But Banasura was not very fond of the Yadus, especially of Krishna. Krishna has already killed his good friend. What was his name? Um, the, the the one that stole all the girls, the son of Baunasura. Baunasura, who was a friend of Banasura. So this is the enemies. He doesn't want, he considers the Yadus enemies. And then she's married, no. So it was completely out of the control. So this atmosphere that is created by this type of, of mentality, that, you know, control mentality, this control, and everybody have to follow in line. And if they don't follow in line, they have to be eliminated or punished. That's something that creates, again, an atmosphere that is not conducive for growth, for for flourishment. It's not conducive for that. A place in which you have to follow orders because you're afraid to be punished. It may work, it may function in certain situations. I mean, you see that, things are managed. But the problem is that it's fully dependent on that individual. There's no empowerment. There's a discouragement of this creative, individual creative nature of people. You discourage that. Individual type of thinking and creativity becomes discouraged. Because if it's not in line with the person at the top, then no, it must be eliminated. So, in other words, you have to passively come in line with this type of mentality. So, this passive following, it creates, if it's led by this mentality in which, everything is meant to fulfill my purpose, or the purpose that I see, the particular purpose that is dictated by this person. If that is there, that everything else is meant for that, all the individuals, all the subjects are meant to fulfill that purpose, then what it creates is a is the danger that have when you passively align with that is that you can really cause some harm to others, and you will justify that you're just following orders. And we see that through history. we see that graphically in history of this Kali Yuga, what masses of people following one autocratic leader that have this type of demoniac propensity, and they commit atrocities, all the way to genocides and all these type of things, because there was some experiments that were trying to understand, psychological experiments, trying to understand the reason of studying the Germans, genocide of the Jews population during the Second World War. And so some there was some scientists uh, in Yale University that decided to make the study to understand why people will do something like that, will go to that extent. The common soldiers and down the ranks, how you be involved in torturing and killing, mass killings. And when the this Nuremberg sort of um, courts were looking at the crimes of these people, then the common thing that was said is, was following orders. I was just following orders. So then these following orders, how to understand how far and what goes into people that, when it comes that you cross the line of your consciousness, and then you start to give pain to others, and even all the way to actually take someone's life, just for the fact of following orders. How is that the following orders forces you to actually act in such a way that you create pain towards others, or you create a culture that leads to that? So in the experiment, they call for volunteers in newspaper. They choose the volunteers that were proper, that they also filter the volunteers. So they're people that are, very well balanced people, normal, sort of well off people from different backgrounds, in different levels of society, from simple illiterate people to professionals, but they all emotionally sound. And they, when they come, the experiment was that there was a teacher, and there was a learner. They, all of them were going to be on the teacher side. The learner was arranged; it was all prearranged. The learner was someone that was set up by the scientist study. Was one of the persons who were creating the study. And the situation was like this: the teacher will be in a room, and the learner will be in another room, and there will be someone who will be directing the experiment. So the leader of the experiment, who will be sitting next to the learner. The learner was an actor or part of the group that was leading the studies. So the teachers were all the volunteers. They were instructed like this: you are in a room, and then you have a control that, when you press, it was a dial, and the dial will give an electric shock to the learner, and it will go from some small shock to a bigger shock to a bigger shock to a bigger shock, and then they have in the graphic for that dial, then one of them start to say dangerous from this on to this point on. So they have a line for this point on is a dangerous type of shock. So it means that the person can be really harmed. And the instruction was like this. They give a list of questions or pairs, They have, they're pairing a particular word with another word. So they were related. And so, um, so they gave a list to both the teacher and the student or the learner. And then the instruction was like this. You give the learner the list, the learner see the list, and then study it, and then you take the list away, and the teacher, we're going to ask randomly some of the words, and then ask the learner to respond with the matching pair, right? And then the instruction was, if he gives the wrong answer, you do one shock. You start with the minimal shock. And the next wrong answer, you will increase the shock. And the next answer, you increase the shock. So the learner who was part of the group who was leading the whole thing, but the teacher didn't know. They think, you know, they were divided like that. So the learner was instructed, you give all the wrong answers. So then the teacher volunteered to give the shock. The next one. All the way when they come, they start to approach the dangerous one. And then they stop. And then the experimental guy, the one who was leading the thing, say, he give 4 prompts to the student, to the volunteers. The one is that, please follow the instruction. You must follow the instruction. And then the person hesitates. If he hesitates, then the second one is a much more strong affirmative thing. You must follow, the instruction in order. So at the end, after many prompts, the final one was, in order to do this experiment, you have to do, what is asking you to do. So you have to apply the shock, to the person. And of course, 65% went all the way to the last one that will cause really, that it says, that will cause real harm. 100% got to the point of dangerous. They went up to the line started to cause harm. And 65% went all the way. So the conclusion of the studies was that the atmosphere itself, the circumstance itself, was the one that caused the people to do something that was going to cause real harm to another individual. The circumstance in itself, because it's an experiment, because you've been told to do, because you've been actually paid. Volunteers get paid when you got those experiments. Then you're obliged to do it, in despite of your feelings of discomfort, and your questions on, you don't want to harm, but this is supposed to happen. It's what it is. It's what you volunteer for. So then you do it. So this type of adherence, of almost like blind obedience, in despite of and being blind to the type of voluntarily ignoring that you're harming someone is just some of the consequences of this type of demoniac propensity. And it's something that is in full display in this pastime right now. Anyway, so much to say for that, but we're going a little late. Also, is because we're doing the prayers for Lord Jagannath, the Jagannastaka. But we have to also be very conscientious that to establish, you know, the Vedic structure encourages us to have this type of hierarchies and also you know to have leaders, to have administrators, and to create very clear structures. So there's certain importance of having this type of uh, autocratic type of approach, but it have to be accompanied with the proper mentality in which you serve. Your purpose is to serve and to protect and to give all facilities to those who you're protecting, to the subjects. So it's about the people. It's not about your self-interest. The leaders are there to serve the people. The leaders are not there to squeeze service out of people. Because when that relationship, with that paradigm is in place, that is for the people, then the people will naturally would want to do service and will want to actually naturally cooperate and work with such leader. Any comments or questions? Right? Is that a sign that you? Yeah.
Uh, I was thinking while you were giving the lecture about the election of 2024 that's coming, and one of the candidates have already spoken out that he wants an autocratic, uh, I want to say regime, not a government. Um, and that's how frightening this whole thing is because I guess we never thought it could happen in America. But the devil is alive and doing well in America in this day and age. So it sounds very gloomy and terrifying, actually, because if this person gets into office, he's it's over. Bye bye democracy and hello dictatorship. And you've described exactly what a monster is. And we've got one running for president of the United States. And it doesn't seem like anybody wants to stop him. And I've heard rumors that this guy is going to possibly be back in office again under all these terrible offenses he's already made. And it's like he doesn't care. Like he already owns it. I can't even believe he's gotten this far. But um, It's going to be really exhilarating to have a monster for president of the United States. That's all.
Yeah, is a symptom of the times too. Um, because it's not just this guy, but it's also the type of divisions that are among society. That is, as Kali Yuga progresses, also this sense of selfishness and entitlement and divisions, it becomes more and more prominent because and it's all based on fear, on ignorance, on all these negative emotions like hatred, bigotry. All these things are being encouraged and flourishing, and in one sense creating an atmosphere that is an atmosphere that forces people out of fear, just like we hear in this thing. People are afraid, the secrecy, and there's afraid of, and then you have to follow by fear. So the whole fear mongering is the main instrument that is being used to manipulate simple common people into following something like that. So we see these movements that are there of white supremacists, and all the things that are nationalistic, and you go against this group of people, that group, that minority, and that minority, because they want to take you know my way of life, and therefore to protect our way of life we have to unify it and eliminate. It always goes into this thing of eliminating. you know, we see it in the macro and the microcosmos, in the small societies, even sometimes in our temple, we experience that type of divisions, and biases and all these type of things, you know. So so it's pervading, is because it's Kali Yuga. So where is it land? Where is it ends? We need proper leadership. Now you have the one that you mentioned, the type of leader that is moving people towards this horrible sort of type of culture of bigotry and division and hatred. But you have other ones that are on the same boat but disguised with more liberal things. So in reality, none of them are really looking after the people. I remember this one, and I'm just going to mention name because it was shocking. Because I did vote for Obama, and you become hopeful. I mean, this guy is very progressive, and what he promised, his whole call was for change. Remember, the big um, motto of his campaign was change, and he went for this change thing. But then, during the time of his reign, of his government, there were certain situations in which you say, how? And how you took that stance and publicly take that stance. And it happens with that Flint in Michigan. Do you remember that? What happened there? Mostly a African American community in Michigan that, through some wicked governance in Michigan, they were basically poisoned. Their children, with water that was poisoned with lead, and was almost neglectedly done. It was criminal. It was something that was criminal. And then the way Obama took, addressed that whole situation was by cheating them, by saying that we have to take care of you. And they even there's a video of him sort of, and I'm going to show you that the water is safe, which was not safe. And he was going to drink the water in front of them. I went like this, fakingly. So, and it was exposed that you actually dropped the ball with your own people, the people that you promised to protect, and in something that was criminal like that. So, at the end, all these politicians are compromising because the whole thing, the whole basis of capitalism is how I can squeeze something out of you. You know, is that's why there's some minority that holds power, that holds wealth, and the great majority is there basically, to fulfill those interests. So at the end, okay, we who live in America, who are American citizens, we get it a little better that how we, the leaders of this world, treat people in the third world, that are more seen as resources. So at the end, we're seeing things, people, populations, countries as resources. That's demoniac. So the whole system is demoniac, and therefore we have a world that is full of problems. We need to establish the Vedic society in which kings are and governance are led by leaders that are Krishna conscious. And it's not going to happen maybe in a lifetime, but it's predicted that it's going to happen within 10,000 years. And after that, hell is going to break, and you better won't be here, because it's going to be very, very difficult for the rest of the Kali Yuga. But, so Prabhupada tells us, get out, finish the business in this lifetime, because you're not guaranteed, how comfortable it will be to practice devotional service as Kali Yuga advance. I know. It's really late. Krishna Archana.
Um, while you were talking and describing the particular authoritarian kind of rulership and the very exploitative nature of it, uh, I just was linking it to the final experiment that was done, in a controlled setting to see what it is that pushes people to cross a line where they actually, can even jeopardize the life of somebody else. So I was actually remembering, because, it's close to my country of birth, um, there was the Zimbabwean president who'd been in power for like 20 years, and it was supposed to be a democracy. And then he didn't want to relinquish power. So the method for remaining in power was exactly that, crossing the line. Um, he took some of the Pan African teachings, which is, um, persons on this continent should be the Black Africans and not others. And he had the white farmers start to be demolished, killed. So, how he was able to do that was he's promising that all the remaining population will now receive the land that rightfully belongs to them. Um, and uh, and it actually took place like that. He remained in power. Those white farmers were killed. It was a mass killing. And this is just 23 years ago. Um, and the black population that received that farmland, there would be programs of giving them seeds, and it was found that they couldn't maintain those farms because they were the employees of the farmers that received that land. So anyway, it's a very tragic situation because a whole generation of farmers that had been providing the foodstuffs for the population for the whole country were wiped out. And in fact, the consequence was that actually there was huge starvation in that country as a result of that particular thing. And it was for the leader to remain in power. That's what he was prepared to do.
Yeah, 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 yeah. That's in general the end game and the end result with most of these demoniac type of leaders. They, is they gonna have their day. It's gonna come to them. So it is clear. It's something that is just not good. It's not good for anyone. It's not good for the demoniac leader. It's not good for the people. So we really have to. Uh, I mean, for us, we have to. We're the mandate of Srila Prabhupada and Lord Chaitanya is to show an example of a society, of a sangha of devotees, of a Vaishnava society, in which the principle of caring is at the is the overarching principle that is there in everything we do, and and it's all uh, for the purpose of satisfying the personality of Godhead. Otherwise, you're gonna find flaws and flaws and flaws and all kinds of difficulties. I stop here. Thanks so much, everybody. Grantra Shiman Bhagavatam Ki.